Right now at 5, a gas leak in Joplin closes traffic in the area for all directions. We have the latest.
And we have an alert day in place today with strong to severe thunderstorms expected later this afternoon. Take a look coming up.
Plus, a Veterans Honor Park in southwest Missouri installs a high-flying tribute.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Samantha Walker.
And I'm Chris Warner. It is now Friday, April the 17th, and we have our alert date in place today. We have the threat for strong to severe thunderstorms as we head into this afternoon, evening, and overnight, and all hazards are going to be possible with these storms, unfortunately. But like yesterday, our greatest concern still remains with the potential for those significant wind gusts out there. So we're going to break it down for you. We got a lot to cover and some information that's come in this morning, which we will discuss as well. First, let's discuss that alert day for you. So here's what we're looking at primarily for the alert day, roughly from 4 p.m. to 1 a.m. across the region. And we're looking at those 80-mile-an-hour winds, the potential for large to very large hail, and possibly an isolated tornado. Quick look outside, the Westco camera here at the KOAM studios, and again, unlike yesterday, winds have picked up and they are still continuing to gust out there. MoDOT camera 32nd in range line. It is calm but breezy for now. Things are going to again begin to change. We're sitting at 70 in Joplin, dew points up to 64, and that breeze south at 13. Around the region, temperatures are much milder than yesterday. We've got most of us right about 70 with some upper 60s and some cooler spots. Mount Vernon, Cassville, the cooler spots at 64. And of all the locations, right now, Veneta, the warmest, sitting at 71. Let's break down the threats. So we've got some changes, some favorable, which is good, but we still have roughly the same risks. The level 2 out of 5 on that tornado risk, and these hatch marks again indicating the potential for up to an EF2 tornado. And then in terms of our hail, that threat's been scaled back a bit, but we still have that 3 out of 5 in our northwestern counties. The wind threat, the 4 out of 5 has been moved a little further to the north, but we still have a 3 out of 5 across most of the region, and those hatch marks again indicating that potential for up to 80-mile-an-hour winds. So we still need to watch it. Now the other thing, and future track, there's a lot of varying information. We're looking at the potential of an isolated storm or two between about 10 a.m. and noon, 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. If we were to get one, it would be in an environment favorable for it to intensify. And so it may be something that is ultimately short-lived. This future track is not picking up on that chance, but other data is. So we'll keep an eye on that. Otherwise, by 4, showers, thunderstorms start rolling into the area. Again, these are likely going to be severe, and you can see how quickly that line intensifies and begins to push across the area. Of course, we're going to break that all down for you hour by hour in just a few more minutes. Kids out the door, mostly cloudy, upper 60s. And again, we're going to go ahead and put up that isolated storm chance as we head home this afternoon. But again, the best chance is going to be the organized storms that will roll through at that front later this afternoon. So we'll keep an eye out for the isolated storms. We're otherwise mostly cloudy, low 70s by 9, upper 70s by noon. Our highs today into the low 80s. And those thunderstorm chances again increasing once we get past about 3, 4 o'clock this afternoon. As I mentioned, we're going to break it down hour by hour for you and take a look at this line of storms in just a few more minutes. Samantha?
Chris, thanks. Roads in South Joplin reopen after a major gas leak forces closures in all directions. It started sometime before 2:45 p.m. yesterday. The leak was near Southern Star, River Road, and Gateway Drive in Joplin and Newton counties. Officials asked the public to avoid the area as crews worked to repair the damage. The gas created a loud roar and visible cloud as it escaped from the line. At one point, authorities had closed traffic for as far as a mile from the site of the leak, which was caused by a line strike. In a press release, Southern Star Central Gas Pipeline says the release has been contained with no safety concerns for the public. On Joplin, more than 200 people attended the Thrive Joplin Summit, including nonprofit groups, businesses, and community members. One Joplin will launch the Thrive Joplin Project, which is a 4-year plan to improve health and wellness across the region. The blueprint focuses on several areas, such as affordable housing, mental health, and family support.
To get the community rallied behind what we can do to uplift each other. That's really what the Thrive Project is about. It's about everybody seeing how they can contribute to these 4 different pillars and help everybody.
The project started with community surveys and focus groups to identify the biggest health barriers. The next step involves incorporating feedback and launching action plans throughout the region. A restored military jet now stands as a tribute to all veterans in the Joplin area. The Freedom of Flight Museum unveiled the centerpiece of its new Veterans Honor Park, a beautifully restored Lockheed 233 Shooting Star jet. The historic T-Bird underwent extensive restoration to become the focal point of the new community landmark on Highway 171.
This will be probably Joplin's only attraction up north here that we have. So what we're hoping is not only have the aircraft, the T-33 you see behind me, we may be able to get another helicopter or something put in there. People just don't realize what kind of a gem that we have right here in Joplin at the Joplin Airport.
The new Veterans Honor Park will be located at the Freedom of Flight Museum at the Joplin Regional Airport. Well, April is National Donate Life Month, and today a reminder that one decision can save lives. 4 years after a Joplin police officer was killed in the line of duty, his family says his final act of service didn't end that day. In her special report, Legacy of Service, KOAM's Tanya Bach shows us how Officer Jake Reed's legacy lives on and why the message matters right now.
I drive over it as often as, whenever I'm in town, I come this way and smile, yeah.
It's a bridge with a name, but for Melissa Reed, it's also a place that still feels like her son is close. Officer Jake Reed was killed in the line of duty in March of 2022, and even in that heartbreak, his family chose to give life.
It doesn't get easier, but we learn to get through every day.
Jake's organs were donated, turning a tragedy into a second chance for strangers.
He was able to save 4 lives. He donated his lungs, his heart, his liver, his kidneys, and his pancreas.
During National Donate Life Month, advocates hope more families will talk about donation before they ever have to face that decision.
When someone decides to join the donor registry, it's important because what they are saying yes to is something that, it's very generous and it's very personal, because you're not exactly sure that when you join the donor registry, you'll actually help someone, but you have the intent to help someone.
The Officer Jake Reed Memorial Bridge isn't just a bridge with his name on it. It has special meaning for him and his family. In 2019, Jake saved a woman who was threatening to jump off the bridge.
He just basically walked up and grabbed her, and he was tall, he was 6'3", so he just grabbed her and pulled her down.
Mother says that's who Jake was, always stepping in, always helping, and even after his death, that instinct to serve did not stop.
Jake, he was a hero and saved lives in life, and he's a hero and saved lives in death.
The Midwest Transplant Network says one donor can save up to 8 lives through organ donation and help up to 100 more through tissue donation. But the need is urgent. Right now, thousands of people in Kansas and Missouri are still waiting.
There's 108,000 people on the wait list across the country. And there's about 2,500 people in Kansas and Missouri who are waiting for a gift of a donation.
Melissa says their family is now considering the next step, meeting Jake's recipients, so they can know the man behind their gift.
I really want them to know who Jake is and was, and we honor him this way.
4 years later, Melissa says Jake's legacy is still written in service, protecting his community in life, and through organ donation, bridging the gap to new life for others after death. Reporting in Joplin, Tanya Bach, KOAM News.
If you'd like to register as an organ donor, you can easily do it when you renew your driver's license. Advocates say it's just as important to tell your family your decision so they can honor it if the time ever comes. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, Trump hints at weekend Iran talks as fighting could resume without a deal. And severe weather expected later today. Chris has a look at your weekend forecast. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back. Topping World Watch. Another ceasefire in the Middle East in this morning. Israel and Lebanon have agreed to pause Israeli strikes on Hezbollah targets for 10 days, though Israel says it's ready to resume strikes if the militant group launches more attacks. This as President Trump says the war with Iran is, quote, going swimmingly, while again hinting the conflict could come to a close soon. CBS News' Jared Hill has more from New York.
President Trump is hinting at when the next round of direct peace talks with Iran could take place.
Probably, maybe over the weekend.
But if there's no agreement,
If there's no deal, fighting resume.
the Pentagon says more than 10,000 U.S. service members, at least a dozen ships, and 100 aircraft are part of the effort to block Iran's ports near the Strait of Hormuz.
13 ships have made the wise choice of turning around. Any vessel that compares to comply with our instructions will be dealt with accordingly.
This as the president shifted his focus Thursday to the economy, visiting Las Vegas to play up his no tax on tips policy. But skyrocketing gas prices have put a dent in many of the benefits Americans might see this tax season.
Prices are all up everywhere. Gas prices are astronomical. Food prices, grocery prices.
President Trump brushed off concerns, saying gas prices are not very high.
We're blowing it away now. And despite our little diversion.
Meanwhile, celebration in the streets of Lebanon overnight after a U.S.-backed 10-day ceasefire between them and Israel took effect. President Trump on social media called it a historic day for Lebanon, adding he hopes Hezbollah acts nicely and well during this important period of time. Jared Hill, CBS News.
A resolution in the U.S. House to rein in President Trump's ability to attack Iran without congressional approval failed yesterday on a slim 213 to 214 vote. A similar measure also failed again this week in the Senate. Well, still to come, severe weather expected later today. Chris has a look, your weekend forecast. Tom Cruise is reviving one of his most iconic roles in an upcoming film, plus an exclusive interview with the cast of Waste Man. Gwen Baumgarten has your Eye on Entertainment report.
Of course, this is all dependent on continued good behavior.
There's an eeriness about the film Waste Man as this cinematic thriller shows one man's fight to survive as his new cellmate puts his parole in jeopardy.
Careful. I don't need to be careful. Our director very early on said, look, I want you to go all the way. I want people to be kind of scared of you on set.
Part of that included fake tattoos that actor Tom Blythe said he left on for more than a month during filming.
To save time, basically, I went through like 6 hours of hair and makeup, and then we left it on, and then we kind of retouched them up every morning. But I was going home and kind of wearing those tattoos and kind of forgetting I had them on and being looked at very differently to how I usually probably am perceived.
Waste Man is in theaters now. Tom Cruise and his need for speed means another Top Gun movie is taking off. Paramount made the announcement during this week's CinemaCon that Cruise has signed on to make Top Gun 3. It follows the success of 2022's Top Gun Maverick. This beautiful blonde is the latest up-and-coming star in Hollywood. Buddy, the golden retriever, and his basketball skills are headed for the big screen in Air Bud Returns.
I can interpret that for you. He's really demanding a lot of new things like bacon-infused popcorn, only Evian water now. So he's becoming more expensive.
Buddy does all his own stunts in the film. Air Bud Returns comes out in January. That's your Eye on Entertainment. Gwen Baumgartner, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Looks like I found my new favorite movie star. Well, now here's Chris with a quick look at your forecast.
What you need to know as we get this Friday underway. Again, we have the alert day in place out there with those severe thunderstorms likely later today. Cooler temps though behind this front into the weekend. Another warm up on the way next week. We're going to break down our storms hour by hour this afternoon when the KOAM Morning News returns.
Here's your Skywatch weather forecast from the trusted Roper Kia Weather Center.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. 5:21 now on this Friday, Alert Day Friday here in the 4th state. We're first going to start with our severe risk. Now, a reminder, now that we're into day 1, which is today, this is scheduled to update at about 8 a.m. And so if you stay with us through the morning show as we transition to Fox 14 at 7 a.m., if it updates prior to that, we'll bring you that information. But here's where we stand right now. Level 2 out of 5 for the majority of the region on that tornado risk. And we have those hatch marks indicating, again, the potential for up to an EF2 EF2 strength tornado. But again, I want to emphasize all of these severe risk categories are what the greatest concern is based on atmospheric conditions and what the storms are expected to be later today. It is not a guarantee that exactly this will happen. It's not a guarantee we're going to get an EF2 tornado, but it's just saying that's a chance. It's a possibility. Our hail threat, though, greatly scaled back. We still have a 3 out of 5. We still have those hatch marks, but it's been shifted much further back to the north and west. We still need to watch it because we're still talking hail up to 2 inches in diameter in some cases. Our greatest concern continues to be the wind risk. Now, the 4 out of 5 on that wind risk that was across the 54 corridor has been scaled back a bit as well, but the 3 out of 5 is still there, as well as those hatch marks across a good portion of the area, indicating at least that potential for winds upwards of 80 miles an hour. So let's take a look at the future track. Again, a quick reminder too, some of the data this morning has suggested between about 10 and 1, 10 and 2, we could get an isolated storm or two. If we do get one, it's going to develop in an environment that will be favorable for it to potentially intensify. So we'll keep an eye on that. It does look like, based on the data, the one agreement they have is if we see a storm, it's really looking like maybe one gets going. And then we get into the afternoon and we start to get more into our widespread severe threats. So by 3, we've got shower storms, these possibly becoming supercells. We get this line starting to get organized in the hard northwestern corners of our region. By 4, start sliding into the area. Still could have a couple of 3 supercells out ahead of this, but this line is going to start to become the dominant feature and the dominant concern as we go into the evening. By 5, you can see it's pretty well organized. But remember, we've talked about, you get those notches, you get those, the fancy term is QLCS tornado. What that means is it's a tornado that spins up from the wind within a line of storms. So think of it this way. You have a bathtub full of water. All right, you have your hand right under the water. If you push your hand underneath that water, you'll see those little spirals back behind it. That's what a QLCS tornado is. It's one that's generally spun up by wind. And you get these notches, and that's where that becomes an issue. So we want to keep a close eye on this. This is 5. We go to 6. This line, again, becoming the primary concern. It stretches well up into Wisconsin, where they've got a greater tornado threat up that way, and all the way back through our area into Osage County. And these storms are going to be strong to severe. In fact, they're just likely going to be severe. The other feature we have to watch out for is those little bowing areas that you see on the leading edge of this. That's where the damaging wind risk. We're not cooking the storms, but the wind risk would be maximized at that time. We had the 7 o'clock crossing into Missouri. Joplin, it's almost right there. And so right along the I-44 corridor, we've got still dealing with severe storms, wind still the primary concern, and we want to watch that potential for some redevelopment on the backside. So first set of storms comes along with the dry line. Second set comes with the cold front. Now, if the cold front runs over these storms out to our west, too quickly, could still be strong to severe, but that threat would be a little lower. So we have to watch that line. This line by 8 continuing to roll through. As it pushes out, here comes that last round, and you can see even just a broad bowing feature on that whole thing, where damaging winds, again, would be the concern. And then that rolls through about 10, 11 o'clock. Additional strong storms possible as we go into the late night and overnight hours, and by 2 a.m. or so, we're going to start to see that threat clear on out of here. And a reminder, we had the flood issues just a couple of days ago with all that heavy rain, those training storms. We do have flood watches for parts of Kansas and Missouri that will run into tomorrow for us out there, so make sure you're staying weather aware. All right, temperatures through the morning again, mostly cloudy skies. Going ahead and putting up that isolated storm chance between 10 and 2, just in case. And we'll go about 70 by 8, near 80 by 11 o'clock this morning. Our highs topping out into the upper 70s and low 80s out there. Once the cold front pushes through, though, chilly tonight, mid 40s. Upper 30s tomorrow night, 59 on Saturday, upper 60s Sunday, and warming up again next week. That is a check of your forecast, and to keep up on the forecast, weather resources, and anything else you may need to know, we have got the perfect way for you to do that. You scan that QR code with your smartphone. It'll take you to our weather resources page. On that page, depending on the season, you will find information on storm shelters, of course, the latest weather updates, closings, and in the wintertime, when it becomes an issue, road condition. It's the KOMNewsNow.com weather resource page. Scan that QR code, get you right there. That is it for your weather. We're going to send it over now to Samantha with Health Watch.
Thanks, Chris. Well, just like your school studies, physical therapists say the best way to improve strength and mobility after injury or surgery is to do your homework. As CBS's Gwen Baumgarten reports, most patients are slacking off in home exercises.
I'm at 95.
69-year-old Purity Snelling is putting in the work to heal from 2 surgeries to her knee. While she's making great strides now, her initial recovery got off on the wrong foot.
I was not recovering at first from the therapy because I was not doing what I was instructed to do with the physical therapist.
A survey from Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center shows 3 out of 4 patients do not complete their physical therapy homework.
Up with the right, down with the left.
Physical therapist Kyle Smith says home exercises are crucial for progress.
Those couple hours in the clinic are probably not enough to fully achieve the goals and the change that we want to make here. So you are going to have to do a little more on your end of things.
Among the reasons patients fail to complete their home program, they forget, not enough time, patients find it boring or repetitive, they have pain or fear of making it worse.
It's important for us to clarify those things and find avenues to make those exercises more easily accessible for them.
Patients can get some time on the clock with simple adjustments to daily activities, like parking a little farther away at work or the grocery store, balancing on one leg while brushing teeth, or even doing squats or stretches in front of the TV.
Smith also encourages patients to be honest with their therapist.
Your therapist will definitely work with you to make the changes necessary to make it easier to be compliant with that home program.
Snelling says doing the homework has had a big impact on the time she spends with her grandson.
I can carry him up the steps. It's made my life more enjoyable for me to be with this baby.
Proving there really are enough hours in the week to get a leg up on better health. Gwen Baumgardner, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Physical therapists also say they're also adjusting how they communicate exercise information to patients, with some older folks preferring paper copies and diagrams, and the younger set looking for digital instructions. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. We'll be right back. Right now at 5:30, some seniors at McDonald County High School get ready to graduate to the military.
And we have an alert day in place today. Strong to severe thunderstorms expected this afternoon, evening, and overnight. A look at your forecast coming up.
Plus, Joplin volunteers help residents get Missouri ideas in last night's Doing Good segment.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:32. I'm Samantha Walker.
And I'm Chris Warner. It is now Friday, April the 17th, and we've talked about today. We had our alert day in place. We talked about the severe threat we were looking at. We told you today looked to be a pretty intense day. Still does look to be a little bit more intense as well across the area. We have the threat for all severe hazards, but the greatest concern continues to be with damaging winds upwards of maybe 80 miles an hour and perhaps localized areas that could see slightly higher. So you need to be very weather aware. We've got the KOAM Skywatch weather app, KOAM Plus to stream us. That way, if you lose power or wherever you're at, you can stream us on your phone even, because the KOAM Plus app works there too. So
nice.
Yeah, get those things together, get ready, because we do have that alert day in place. Let's talk about that first, what we're looking at as we head into this afternoon. Main timing for the bulk of our severe weather looks to be about 4 to 1. So 4 p.m. To 1 a.m. tomorrow. And of course, across the regions, there's going to be a cold front with a big line of storms, 80 mile an hour winds, large to potentially very large hail, and possibly an isolated tornado or two will be possible as well. All right, quick look outside downtown Pittsburgh. Look good. We're cloudy out there this morning. We're mostly cloudy. MoDOT camera 32nd in range line. A little empty, but otherwise not bad. Temperatures mild for sure and warmer than yesterday. We're sitting at 70 in Joplin. Dew point's up to 64. And that's going to be one of the other factors. Dew point is one of the factors that goes into the destabilization process. And look at our humidity levels this morning, 81%. We've got stuff building in. We're getting the ingredients together. Yesterday kind of helped with that. This morning, we're kind of setting that stage now. All right, temperatures, upper 60s and some low 70s out there. Mount Vernon, our cold spot right now, our cool spot, 63. And then a whole string of 71s, Newada, Veneta, and Grove, all the warmer locations. We do have, again, all hazards are possible across the board with, again, the greater concerns with level 4 and level 5 risks. Level 3 and level 4 risks for that damaging wind. And we're going to break down these threats for you in a little more detail in just a few more minutes. All right, quick look at the future track. A note, though, between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m., we could get an isolated storm. There's been some conflicting information. The model data seems to believe it's possible that we could get one. The model data agrees it looks like it would be one, perhaps two at most. But the other thing they agree on is if we do get an isolated storm or two this morning into the early afternoon, it'll be an environment favorable for it to potentially intensify. So we'll have to watch that if we get that storm. We'll just have to keep an eye out for it. And like I said, it would be one out of all of our region. This is where the concern lies. That cold front, first off, the dry line begins triggering this line of storms. Could have some supercells ahead of it. It gets into that damaging wind scenario. And then as the cold front approaches later, we start to see additional development along that front. Kids out the door this morning, mostly cloudy skies, upper 60s. And again, putting on that isolated storm chance just to be on the safe side as they head home. But otherwise, mostly cloudy and 81. That's where our temperatures are going to head. We're going 73 by 9, upper 70s by noon, into the low 80s for those highs, and thunderstorm chances increasing later this afternoon into the evening. As I mentioned, we're going to break down the threats for you, and we're going to break down the timing of these storms hour by hour in just a few more minutes. Samantha?
Chris, thanks. The Compass Academy Network held a special event in Pitt State where they announced that the university's Crossland Technology Center will become the flagship location for their 2026 Summer Enrichment Program. PSU President Thomas Newsom and CEO and founder Deborah Humphreys were on hand to discuss what the future holds for the network.
They realize the importance of exposing students to colleges and universities to give them the opportunity to understand that they can be college students at some point in their lives and they can achieve greatness through a higher education. And so it just was a great fit. It's going to be a great partnership, and we're really excited about it.
Compass Academy Network runs 4-week summer enrichment programs in which rural school district students from grades 6 through 9 can participate at no cost. We're from soldiers of the past to soldiers of the future. The McDonald County School District is honoring a group of students making a big commitment to serve our country. The district held a ceremony recognizing seniors who have enlisted in the military, an effort the school says is a proud and patriotic tradition. The event brought together students, families, and the entire high school to celebrate these students going into the armed forces.
They have stepped forward and taken the commitment to go on and protect this great nation. And it's a commitment that is made by an individual. Nobody else can make it for them. And then the opportunity that they're going to have moving into the world. A lot of people don't realize the commitment that they've made is also the price that they're going to get paid back.
They encourage other students who are interested to learn more by speaking with those who've served about the long-term benefits of enlistment. Well, the McDonald County School District is celebrating a new student-built addition to its baseball field. A ribbon cutting was held for a new 2-story press box at McDonald County High School baseball field, replacing an outdated structure and providing a better space for announcers and game operations. Well, for many, getting a photo ID is a fairly easy process with laid out steps you repeat every so many years. But for others, it can actually be a major hurdle to overcome. This week's Doing Good reporter Ty Parks visits the Joplin Photo ID project to see how they can help.
When I learned that the state legislature had passed a law requiring a photo ID for voting, and that for some people at least getting that ID would be difficult, my first thought was, well, you can debate whether or not they should have passed this law, but since it is the law, how can we help people get the IDs? And then I learned that you need it for so many other things too.
This is where a group of 3 volunteers comes in. Meet the Joplin Photo ID Project. They're working out of the Salvation Army in Joplin to help people get the documentation they need.
Depending on the state, can take anywhere from $15 to $50. And you can, if you're fortunate enough to have been born in Missouri, the Joplin Health Department can get you one the same day.
Over the last 4 years, the Joplin Photo ID Project has helped about 500 people get the IDs needed for voting, housing, and employment. It does cost the group money, which is where you can hop in to help.
That's about $40. $40 donations go a long way. Right now, it's a core group of 3 of us that do all the work every Wednesday. And we'd love to have more volunteers who are willing to work 2.5, 3 hours one day a week.
In Joplin, Ty Parks, KOAM News.
Folks can stop by on Wednesdays from 9:15 to noon to get the process started. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. A jury says Ticketmaster robbed concert fans, and now the company faces huge penalties. In Consumer Watch, if you've ever weathered a Ticketmaster site crash only to be hit with surprise fees at checkout, this verdict is for you. A jury found Ticketmaster and its owner Live Nation run an illegal monopoly. Millions of music fans have been waiting for this news. More than 30 state attorney generals joined the case, calling it years in the making. Live Nation says it will appeal. Next, a federal judge will decide penalties, potentially fines, a breakup, or even forcing Ticketmaster to be sold. Well, QVC says it's turning to Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection, warning in a filing with federal regulators there's, quote, substantial doubt about its ability to continue operating. The home shopping channel is looking to restructure nearly $6 billion in debt and hopes to emerge from bankruptcy in about 90 days. QVC says it will keep operating during the process, but could be forced to shut down if it can't successfully complete the restructuring. Well, South Florida-based Spirit Airlines could be nearing collapse, with multiple reports saying the low-cost carrier may be forced to liquidate its assets as fuel prices soar. The Dania Beach-based airline is reportedly facing liquidation as soon as this week, as rising costs add new pressure to its finances. And mortgage payments have soared to a new record high. Realtor.com says the average monthly mortgage payment climbed to $2,005 in the fourth quarter of 2025. The real estate website says that's a more than $600 jump in just 3 years, and it reflects the effects of higher housing prices combined with elevated interest rates. That's it for Consumer Watch, and now here's Chris with a quick look at your forecast.
Here's what you need to know as we get our Friday underway. We have our alert day in place across the area. Strong to severe thunderstorms are likely as we head into the afternoon, evening, and overnight hours. It's a cold front giving us those storm chances, so temperatures will be much cooler this weekend, and they'll start warming up again by next week. We're going to break it down, take a look at these storm chances hour by hour when the KOAM Morning News returns.
Drought is expanding across much of the country, putting added pressure on winter wheat, and more data centers are headed for rural America. Details in today's Ag Day Minute.
I'm Tyne Morgan with today's Ag Day Minute. Well, worries about winter wheat conditions continue to grow. That's as the latest U.S. drought monitor shows worsening drought conditions across the South, as well as the southern and high plains. A new drought monitor just released Thursday shows 3/4 of the country is now dealing with some level of drought or dryness, with 60% now in drought. That is the highest level since November of 2022. To put that into perspective, drought coverage has only exceeded 60% about 30 times in recent history. 25 of those were during the widespread drought of 2012 and 2013. Well, tariff refunds could be on the way, but don't expect those refunds to happen quickly. A new federal portal will open April 20th, allowing businesses to apply for refunds on tariffs ruled illegal by the Supreme Court. The government could owe businesses up to $175 billion. Refunds are not automatic, and companies must apply, and only specific tariffs are eligible. Well, a new report shows the rapid growth of data centers is shifting into rural America. The U.S. already has more than 3,000 operational data centers, with another 1,500 in development. About 2/3 of planned projects are headed to rural communities. In fact, nearly 40% of those new facilities are planned in counties that don't currently have a single data center. The South and Midwest are leading that growth, accounting for roughly 3/4 of all new projects. For more Ag News, watch Ag Day weekdays on this station or get updates anytime at agweb.com.
Here's your Skywatch weather forecast from the trusted Roper Kia Weather Center.
All right, we have an alert date in place today, and this is why we have our severe threat rolling into the afternoon and evening. This is the greatest severe threat so far this season, and the greatest concern, I do want to emphasize that, is with the damaging winds. But we have all hazards are possible out there. Level 2 out of 5 on that tornado threat, and again, those hatch marks indicating the potential for up to an EF2 tornado if we get any. And again, it's not a guarantee, excuse me, that would happen. Our hail threat, though, while we still have a 3 out of 5 risk and we still have these hatch marks, got scaled back a bit, pushed off to the northwest where the supercell chances are going to be. So yesterday, it looked as though supercells could fire into southeastern Kansas around 2 o'clock or so. That's one of the biggest changes is it's starting a little further northwest. That's why the hail threat is down a bit, because we'll start getting into a linear mode of storms this afternoon instead of having so many supercells ahead of that. But our wind threat, because of that line of storms, is still there. Now, the 4 out of 5 risk has been shifted up a little further northeast, but we still have a 3 out of 5 for most of the area, and we have those hatch marks that indicate that potential again for significant winds, 80 miles an hour, potentially greater than that in some cases, so we need to be ready for this. Let's take a look at what we've got. A reminder of something that's not showing up on this particular future track, but I looked at this morning. It is showing up on other pieces of data. And what we've got is a chance of an isolated storm between about 10 and 1 today, and 10 a.m., 1 p.m. If it happens, it looks like, based on the agreement of the other data, that there would only be 1, perhaps 2 of these isolated storms. But the other side of that is the atmosphere is already getting primed for our severe threat later. So if we do get one of those storms, it could potentially intensify. So we'll watch for it. It's a big if, but we will keep our eyes peeled for that one potential storm. Now let's talk about the big threat. We still, which is why we have that hail threat, could get some supercell development ahead of the main line of storms, the first line of storms here. And of course, if that happens, then the hail threat's greater. So we'll keep an eye on that. That's by about 3 o'clock. By 4, still a couple of supercells out there, but the line starts to become the more dominant feature, and it starts pushing into our northwestern counties. By 5, you can see where this line is from Sedan, all the way up Fredonia, Chanute, north of Fort Scott, and Butler. And so what we've got is a couple of things. One, the spin-up tornadoes, as we described earlier, that's a possibility. So we have to watch all of these little notch areas because that's going to be a potential. It does reduce the overall tornado threat, but it still can happen within that line. The other issue we want to watch is going to be for these little Boeing points. That's where some of the more enhanced damaging winds could be. So that's why we need to watch that. By 6, got a pretty impressive line of strong to severe thunderstorms here, stretching through southeast Kansas and parts of the northern portions of our counties here in southwest Missouri. By 7, it's through Cherokee County. It's coming into Jasper, Barton, approaching, going through Stockton, Nevada, Lamar. Pardon me, the last 2 days it's been going on. And then right along the I-44 corridor is where we're going to have this. Now, the other thing is these storms may initially be associated with the dry line, and as the cold front approaches, that's where we got to watch the second line of storms. That still could be strong to severe as it comes up out of Oklahoma. First line still pushing through, maybe a little weaker, but still strong to severe storms. But then this one expected to be kind of the dominant feature by about 8, 9 o'clock. And we get this one. Now, it may not be as intense as the first line, but it will still bring strong to severe storms as it races off to the east. Here we are at 10 o'clock. Pushing into the Missouri side of things along the I-49 corridor. It begins to exit. Some strong, potentially severe storms still hang around. So this is by 11. But as we get to about midnight, the bulk of the threat shifting into the Missouri counties. And as we get later, early into Saturday morning, it does begin to clear on out of here. So we still have the main severe threat is about 4 p.m. to 1 a.m. We still want to watch that chance for an isolated storm or two ahead of that. And remember, we had all those flooding concerns. Columbus really got socked with some rain, had some flooding concerns. When I left the station yesterday, Spring River way up, flowing fast. So make sure you stay out of the water, by the way, because that can be dangerous. And we have flood watches again. They're going to carry us through tomorrow with that heavy rain potential later. And flash flooding is a pretty big concern right now because you saw the size of those storms. We just got a lot of rain, and we could have a lot more as it comes through. And as I've said, I know we need the rain. I mean, getting too much in too little time is not necessarily a good thing. Also, it's, of course, coming with that severe threat, which we don't like either. All right, let's get your day started. We're going to be about 70 out there by 8, low 70s by 9, mid 70s by 10, and upper 70s by 11. And then going ahead and putting on that isolated storm chance. Like I said, the data suggests if we get one, it may literally be one cell that fires up out of our entire region. But that one cell could become severe, so we'll watch that for you. Otherwise, mostly cloudy skies, breezy, south winds gusting upwards of 35 miles an hour. Got another look at your forecast right after this.
The weather was perfect for yesterday's Third Thursday Route 66 Fest. The downtown festival featured more than 135 vendors and about 30 food trucks. Joplin's Main Street is part of historic Route 66, so crowds were actually walking along the Mother Road. With the 100th anniversary of the historic route, the event highlighted Joplin's connection to America's most famous highway. There was even a vintage car cruise that drew enthusiasts with classic vehicles and even a few Route 66 travelers.
And it's one of those things we've talked about before, you know, where we have so many unique things in our area, but because we see them every day, we don't always think about them.
Yeah.
And for other folks, they come here and like, well, why are you coming here? We sometimes forget, not everybody, I know, but we do sometimes forget the unique things that we have right here in our own backyard.
And I mean, it's so cool and such a piece of Americana, and we don't even think about it sometimes.
Yeah. And like I said, we drive on it daily. You know, we drive through it all the time. We see the historic marker signs, but how many of you, while you're driving down Main Street, down 7th Street, or anywhere in the area that is old Route 66, how many times do you really give it a thought, though? You're just going to the store, you're going to work, going out with friends. It's interesting, like what we have here that we have every day that people from so far away find so unique. Very unique things here in the 4 states. Lots of things to check out. Today, maybe not a good day to get out there and check them out as our severe thunderstorm chances begin to increase after about 4 o'clock this afternoon. Best windows from 4 p.m. to 1 a.m. tomorrow morning. Ahead of it, mostly cloudy, breezy, low 80s. Those south winds gusting to 35. Thunderstorms likely through the evening. Some of those, again, will be strong to severe. Now, once we get behind the front, winds shift out of the north, gusting to 30, and our temperatures drop back into the mid-40s. And those lows looking to happen very early tomorrow morning with that front passing through. Tomorrow, though, look at that, upper 50s, maybe some low 60s, upper 30s Saturday night. We start warming up Sunday and see the return of the 70s to start the next week. That's Check Your Forecast. We're back with more right after this.
The weather was perfect for yesterday's Third Thursday Route 66 Fest. The downtown festival featured more than 135 vendors and about 30 food trucks. Joplin's Main Street is part of historic Route 66, so crowds were actually walking along the Mother Road. With the 100th anniversary of the historic route, the event highlighted Joplin's connection to America's most famous highway. There was even a vintage car cruise that drew enthusiasts with classic vehicles and even a few Route 66 travelers.
And it's one of those things we've talked about before, you know, where we have so many unique things in our area, but because we see them every day, we don't always think about them.
Yeah.
And for other folks, they come here and like, well, why are you coming here? We sometimes forget, not everybody, I know, but we do sometimes forget the unique things that we have right here in our own backyard.
And I mean, it's so cool and such a piece of Americana, and we don't even think about it sometimes.
Yeah. And like I said, we drive on it daily. You know, we drive through it all the time. We see the historic marker signs, but how many of you, while you're driving down Main Street, down 7th Street, or anywhere in the area that is old Route 66, how many times do you really give it a thought, though? You're just going to the store, you're going to work, going out with friends. It's interesting, like what we have here that we have every day that people from so far away find so unique. Very unique things here in the 4 states. Lots of things to check out. Today, maybe not a good day to get out there and check them out as our severe thunderstorm chances begin to increase after about 4 o'clock this afternoon. Best windows from 4 p.m. to 1 a.m. tomorrow morning. Ahead of it, mostly cloudy, breezy, low 80s. Those south winds gusting to 35. Thunderstorms likely through the evening. Some of those, again, will be strong to severe. Now, once we get behind the front, winds shift out of the north, gusting to 30, and our temperatures drop back into the mid-40s. And those lows looking to happen very early tomorrow morning with that front passing through. Tomorrow, though, look at that, upper 50s, maybe some low 60s, upper 30s Saturday night. We start warming up Sunday and see the return of the 70s to start the next week. That's Check Your Forecast. We're back with more right after this.